Australian identity is not based on one value or dimension alone. Instead, there are several key elements such as Indigenous perspectives, which are negative since Indigenous families were separated from their families and traumatized by their experiences. Australian sport because we as a country are also proud of our accomplishments as a team showing teamwork and mateship. The larrikin and bogan showing what a typical Australian would look and act like. So these three features of Australian identity help define Australia as we never forget where we come from and stick together as a country. Australia today recognises its past. We aren't always proud of our history with Indigenous affairs. We have treated Aboriginal people very poorly, and as a result, they have some of the worst life expectancies in the Western world. I think as a society, we are trying to recognise their place within our own culture, and this is shown at ceremonies and other national occasions where we recognise the Aboriginal elders, both past, present, and emerging. There is a lot of work to be done to give them equal status within our multicultural society. The Aboriginal community has been discriminated against ever since the Captain James Cook first landed here in Australia. The English's first goal was to try and outbreed the Aboriginal race. There have been movies like Rabbit Proof Fence, which was about how Aboriginals have been attacked and separated from their families by the Australian government ever since day one. In the movie Rabbit Proof Fence, there is a scene which shows just how traumatizing the separations actually were. The Aboriginal community is still affected by the history we share today. The trauma of the family separation will forever be passed down. Relating back to my belief, I spoke about how Aboriginal families are traumatized and how they are still struggling with their experiences with the English Australians and how they still struggle to trust another white man of today. Australians have always defined themselves as being good sports. We judge our character by how the game is played. An example of this was the public outcry of the win-at-all-costs attitude of the Australian cricket team during the sandpaper scandal that happened earlier this year. Australians want our sporting heroes to win, but not to cheat, and I think that is a good thing. In terms of our multicultural society, our sporting teams are something that we can all get behind and support as one. With Australian sport, it doesn't matter if you're participating or if you're a spectator. What counts is the sportsmanship given by the support of teammates with teamwork and spectators with cheering. Evidence to support this statement is in a PowerPoint called Sport Australia ID. Bogan is an Australian term used for a lower-class citizen of Australia. A bogan is defined by the way they dress, speak, and act in public and at home. To describe a typical bogan, you could say that they are unsophisticated. Since the 1980s, the term bogan has become well used and very well recognized. A larrikin is a young Englishman or boy who is mischievous and a lout, or an uncultivated but good-hearted person. Australian identity can be presented by a special character from a show called We Can Be Heroes, created by Chris Lilley and performed by Chris Lilley. We Can Be Heroes started on the 27th of July and ended on the 31st of August. Camera angles and backgrounds were just as important as the characters. Every shot/scene was made with a purpose, and that purpose was to make it feel as Australian as possible. The backgrounds were full of gum trees and just the regular Australian bush. The character's name is Daniel Sims. Daniel is a 17-year-old boy who lives in South Australia and aspires to be a rapper. Daniel gets himself into trouble a fair bit as he might be acting out on his father's death. But Daniel was nominated to be the Australian of the Year as he donated his eardrum to his nearly deaf twin brother Nathan. Daniel is a larrikin as he is a young man who is mischievous but is good at heart. In scene 2340 to 2420, Daniel is trying to convince the friend group that his deaf brother is good at beatboxing. Nathan starts to beatbox and the friends start laughing at him while Daniel is telling them to shut up and Nathan is just trying. He continues to call them Pussys, etc. A quote from Daniel saying, "Why don't you shut up? He can beatbox, at least he's trying, you Pussy. He's Fuckin trying." As I said at the start, Australia is too complex to be defined by one single element or feature. Instead, it is better defined by a variety. The most important aspect of Australia is the diversity and mateship that has been created since we learned to work together as a country. The first factor shows the history of Australia, giving an understanding of the people and how we live together as a country. Factor 2 is all about the mateship we shared throughout the country's well-known sports. And Factor 3 helps give an idea of what the basic Australian is like, as in the way they act, where they live, and how they dress.